Hi, welcome to another episode of The Inked Happiness, and I'm Chom. My name is Shubhabruto Ganguly, but my pet name is Chom, as most of you know, but some of you have still asked. So, hi again to those who are joining in and those who have been supporting me by viewing my videos and liking and sharing and subscribing and commenting and telling me what to do, how to improve it. So thank you everyone. Now, a couple of weeks back, we did a story on some vintage Ranga pens. And boy, oh boy, I have been inundated with requests to show more Ranga pens. Now, this follows another, because long time back we had done another story where we had featured or we had talked about most of the major fountain pen makers and ink makers in India that or paper makers, most brands that are associated with this trade. And it is my mistake. I apologize. My fault was that I had not, for some reason or the other, it just had completely missed out of my mind to feature Ranga in the thing. And many people have been very stern in their criticism for missing out Ranga. My apologies. And so here is another Ranga pen that I promised that day and that I will be showing you today. Now the point is, Ranga, as you all know, is one of the legacy fountain pen brands in India, brands that emanate from the southern parts of India. Now, these were companies which were, to tell you a little bit about fountain pen making, one of the early movers in fountain pen turning in India was Rajamundry in Andhra Pradesh. Then, of course, Chennai and Hyderabad and all these places, they started making their pens, because at that point of time, this was just pre-independence or, around those times or after that, till about the 50s or the 60s. Turning fountain pens used to be a kind of a kind of a enterprise that anybody could get into. Most people, anyone with a lathe machine could get into the making of fountain pens. Now the point is, the acrylic pens that you see today, which are, which have become synonymous with Indian pens, were not what used to be made in those days. We are essentially talking about ebonite pens, sturdy, very well made ebonite pens with a lot of ink capacity, because they were eyedropper fillers and very good nibs, homemade, India made nibs, and which used to come at a fairly decent price because the demand was such, and almost everyone was making, and there were so many of them who were, established names. You have Gama, you had Ranga, you had Ratnam, you had Brahmam, you have Mesak, and so many very good, well-made ebonite pens during that period of time. Now, this was before a time when the deluge of dot pens came, and when that happened, over a period of time, most of the small fountain pen makers, most of the lathe machine operators had to go under. because the whole world of fountain pens had imploded, taking a lot of casualties. There were, believe me, blood on the streets. Now, after this, very interestingly, around the 20s, I mean, to 2000s, I mean, we were talking about 80s, late 80s and 90s being, and even to being a terrible time, early 2000s being a terrible time for fountain pen manufacturers, and most went out of business. If you traveled in Andhra Pradesh or in Tamil Nadu those days, you would see earlier pen makers becoming STD, ISD, and Xerox shops. But very surprisingly, it was the internet that breathed a fresh lease of life into fountain pen turning. But by that time, a terrible thing had happened in that most of the people who used to make pens were lost. And a kind of a generation, there was no replenishment of the artists, because like so many other things in India, there is no school that teaches you fountain pen making, and it's a kind of a parampara thing where you go, you learn from your father or you learn from your master, and the tradition continues. Now, there was a break in this tradition, and some people, you know, like Gamma and Gem Company, like Ratnam to some extent, and of course Ranga continued in the sense because a new generation came in, and Ranga, for its for its credit, to its credit, not only was one of the early movers into the digital space, selling their pens, taking their pens abroad and creating markets for Indian products in across the seas, also continued making some traditional pens. And the one that I have here is one of Ranga's most well-known pens from the past. This is the bamboo pen. If you look, this looks like a bamboo. It feels like a bamboo in your hand. It has a generic name, ebonite feed, and what they have, I mean, to their credit, what they have added to this now this is a very old model. What they have added is a converter which is a Schmidt converter, very robust, good, which adds to the functionality of the pen, apart from making it acceptable to the younger generations. Because when we grew up using these kind of pens, which had because in those days we were expected to write a lot in schools, and so naturally we needed pens with a lot of ink capacity, and these were the kind of pens that we used, we loved, we were used to. And even today, if you give me a chance, I will always go for an ebonite pen to write with eyedropper filler capacity. And ebonite, as you know, as most of you know, this incidentally, this pen also posts. Ebonite, as you most of you know, is something that is extremely friendly to ink. So it has a long life, and this is something that can be bequeathed from generation to generation. So we will be showing you writing samples with this pen also. Whenever I meet them in the different fountain pen shows, or I inevitably fall in love with one of their creations, one of their ebonite creations that I think I must possess, otherwise life would be incomplete. So this is the pen that I wanted to show you, and thank you so much for being with us and for watching this video. Please write in your comments. Please tell me how I can improve myself, because I'm not a video guy. I'm a writer. I may be a collector of pens, but my profession is writing. I've done television in the past professionally as a reporter in different television channels, but that's not what I think I am. I am a writer, and for writing, I use these pens. I have always used fountain pens, but I have my own quirks, and I have my very strong likes and dislikes. So I tend to be biased. I tend to be very biased. I accept that. My apologies. I have nothing. I have no stones to grind against anyone. But if I sound biased, please correct me. And I am biased towards Indian pens. I am biased towards ebonite pens, and I am biased towards eyedropper fillers, and I am biased to writing with fountain pens, and I am biased to your community, to this wonderful community that we have. But please write and tell me what you want. Please point out my deficiencies so that I can improve, because at the end of the day, this is a learning process. We are here because of the love of the fountain pen, and we want to take it forward. Thank you.